Welcome to Reviews That Scare with Jess and Blair. I'm Jess.
I'm Blair.
Blair, how are you?
I'm doing okay, man. Yourself?
I am very, very well indeed. It is the second week of October. There is a crispness in the air.
There is
a little bit of a bite to the wind, perhaps.
Also, here in Canada, Jesse, it's Thanksgiving. So happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, my brother.
Yes,
are you
sir.
celebrating today? Did you celebrate yesterday?
I will be going to the in-laws for a dinner tonight.
Ooh, and will you be doing the whole bird and everything?
It's going to be either a bird or a ham. I'm not too sure what they're cooking.
Ooh, excellent, excellent. We had ours yesterday. Nice
Yep.
turkey, nice ham, both
Some stuffing.
stuffing, desserts
the stuffing.
galore.
Yep.
It was great.
Hell yeah,
It's great. Great Thanksgiving. Yeah. I'm loving it. I'm loving the weather. I'm loving the Octoberness in the air.
It is
I'm
getting
also
cold though. It's getting colder.
chilly. No snow yet though, so that's
No.
a plus. We had our watch party earlier just the other day, a little bit earlier in the month to have a watch party, but things get a little bit crazy towards the end of the month. So we figured let's take care of it now while we can. And it was fun. And we watched a highly debated, much talked about movie out of a much loved franchise. So excited to talk about that. But before we do, what do you say we chat a little bit about some Terrifier 3 news? Sorry, some horror news.
This is horror news.
Blairski, I mean, we could talk about horror news, but arguably the biggest horror movie of the year just came out this week.
It did.
Why don't you kick off horror news? I'm sure you're going to chat a little bit about some Terrifier 3. What do you got?
I'm definitely starting it off with Terrifier 3. I've only got two pieces of horror news. One is Terrifier 3.
Yeah.
It came out this weekend. On a $2 million budget, it's already made well over $18 million just on opening weekend. It is the number one movie in the world right now, I think. So wow, man, good for everyone involved in making that. That's for sure. We haven't seen it yet, though, Jesse.
No, I would like to go this week.
Yeah,
would be great.
We'll figure out a date and we'll go.
Absolutely, yeah. This one is certified fresh. 90% fan rating, which we know it's a movie for the fans. It brought in $2.6 million alone on its Thursday night preview night.
So it surpassed its budget on preview night, which is wild.
Which we're not surprised at all. Nobody's surprised that this movie is doing so well. You went to look at buying tickets on Saturday to go and see it Saturday, and it was sold out, correct?
Yeah, I was going to go Saturday, and it was sold out. They still had some seats available at the very front row, sporadically, which I didn't want to sit in. And it was sold out, and it wasn't even the late showing. That was like a 6:35 evening showing.
It was a Terrifier 3 matinee.
Right.
All right, what else you got for horror news?
The last thing I have is yesterday, actually. So this weekend, Sunday, the 2024 Fangoria Chainsaw Awards were held. I completely missed them. I didn't even know it was going on, but I do have a list of some of the winners I would like to share.
Oh, excellent.
Alyssa Sutherland won for Best Supporting Actress in Evil Dead Rise. Skinamarink actually won Best First Feature. The Best Creature and Makeup Effects both went to Evil Dead Rise.
Surprise, surprise.
Best Video Game went to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game, which is pretty cool. Best TV Series went to The Last of Us. Jesse, one of your favorites.
Love it.
Best Kill went to the Yoga Kill from In a Violent Nature, which I'm not surprised at all. And finally, the Best Movie went to Godzilla -1.
Wow.
Which I'm not
cool.
surprised. Yeah, I'm not surprised at all. There were a bunch of other awards handed out. It seemed to me that the big winners of the night that took home the most were Evil Dead Rise and Late Night with the Devil, actually.
Cool.
A few. Yeah.
It is the strangest. The Chainsaw Awards are the strangest awards.
They are.
They don't focus on, okay, this is the year in movies. Because as we know, Evil Dead Rise came out well over a year ago.
Yeah, it did.
even Godzilla -1 came out a while ago.
I think both of them are 2023 movies.
Yeah, I don't really know what the timeline is to be considered for the awards because they're kind of all over the place.
They are. I do know that they're all fan voted though, which is pretty awesome.
Excellent. That's the way it should be.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, I was going to chat about Terrifier 3, but I knew that you were going to.
Yeah.
So my second and last piece of horror news, I'm going to do a promo for my own stuff.
Right on.
Shamelessly.
No.
But for anyone out there who is at all interested, the Fringe show I helped write and acted in this summer will be coming back for one night only. That's right. The Silence of the Lambs Jr. will be seeing the light of day once more this upcoming October 30th at 9 p.m. at the Grindstone Comedy Theater here in Edmonton. The show is basically The Silence of the Lambs, but for kids, but not for kids.
Definitely not for kids, but for kids. I went on your opening night for the Fringe Festival.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of fun. It is a very good show.
Oh, appreciate that. Tickets on sale now. Hope to see people there. It'll be fun.
Oh, yeah. Definitely go.
That's all I have for horror news. What do you say we jump into this week's episode? The second episode in the month of October goes to Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. Runtime on this one, 1 hour, 39 minutes. Blairski, initial thoughts on the runtime?
I'm cool with it. When I first looked up the movie to watch it, that's the first thing I noticed was the runtime, and I was breathing a sigh of relief.
Yeah. And especially like we'll get into it, but it does move a little bit slower than the other movies in the franchise. We'll chat about that later. But before we do that, what do you say we dive into some fun facts?
Fun facts. Facts that are fun.
Blairski, you got some fun facts for Halloween 3?
First and foremost, for those who don't already know, Halloween 3 is the only entry in the series that does not feature the series antagonist, Michael Myers. And man, did I miss him.
It's kind of weird because going into it, we know that he's not in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, man.
It was still weird not seeing him.
Yeah, and at about the 40-minute mark, I was saying, okay, I know he's not in it, but if he showed up right now,
I wouldn't hate it.
All problems would be solved. Come on, Mike.
No, I know.
Oh,
next fun fact I have, the same fictional town used in Halloween 3, Santa Mira, is also the same fictional town used in the original Invasion of the Body Snatchers movie, which is pretty freaking awesome.
Yeah, 1956. How cool is that?
Yeah, and they did it as a complete homage to that movie.
I love it.
Which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think that's great.
The final fun fact I have is the very, very catchy Silver Shamrock jingle you hear throughout the movie is set to the tone of London Bridge is Falling Down, which I totally see now, but like watching the movie, I couldn't piece it together. I knew I recognized it, but I couldn't put my finger on what it's from, but London Bridge is Falling Down.
Yeah, they used it, obviously, because it was in the public domain.
Yeah.
So it didn't cost them a cent. Oh, goodness. I got a few here. Even though the movie was a critical failure, and we'll talk about that later, the movie novelization, the book released the same year, was a bestseller.
Oh, really?
Which is kind of crazy.
Okay.
John Carpenter revealed that the original director set to direct was Joe Dante.
Yeah.
Joe Dante, of course, directed Gremlins, Small Soldiers, The Burbs, Piranha, Rock and Roll High School, Looney Tunes Back in Action.
Didn't he do The Prowler, which we just covered not too long ago?
I can't remember. Maybe he did.
I think it was him.
Could be right. We'll have to fact check that. What else here? The voice. This one is cool. The voice of the operator that Callus keeps calling, and the voiceover intercom telling the citizens of Santa Mira about the curfew is none other than Jamie Lee Curtis.
Really?
Yep.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. 2 little cameos without actually being visual cameos. Just voiceover.
That's pretty cool.
And then finally, this movie is included on Roger Ebert's list of most hated movies. Now, I don't know if that's a list of his most hated movies or just most hated movies in general, but I understand why it would be on a list of most hated movies in general.
I get it as well.
Yeah, we'll chat about that later. Before we do that, let's talk about the fine folks who worked on this movie. Directed by Tommy Lee Wallace, also directed the 1990 It miniseries.
Yeah.
And 1988's Fright Night Part 2. Written by Tommy Lee Wallace, wrote Amityville 2, The Possession, 2004's 12 Days of Terror, and 1984's Far From Home. Also written by John Carpenter, 1978's Halloween, 1980's The Fog, 1981's Halloween 2, 1981's Escape from New York, 1987's Prince of Darkness, 1988's They Live. I mean, this man ruled kind of alternative horror cinema in the 80s.
He did, yeah.
That was him, John Carpenter. And he did it all. Music, writing, directing, he did it all. And then finally, written by Nigel Kneale, also wrote 1957's Enemy from Space, 1957's The Abominable Snowman, and 1967's 5 Million Years to Earth. Starring Tom Atkins as Dan Callis, also starred in 1988's Maniac Cop, 1987's Lethal Weapon, 1986's Night of the Creeps, 1982's Creep Show, 1980's The Fog, and in 16 episodes of the television series Serpico. Stacey Nelkin as Ellie Grimbridge, also starred in 1994's Bullets Over Broadway, and appeared in such shows as Chips, The A-Team, Murder, She Wrote, and The Waltons. And then finally, Dan O'Hurley as Connell Cochran, starred in RoboCop and RoboCop 2 as the old man, 1980's Death Ray 2000, and 6 episodes of Twin Peaks. That's a great set of movies there.
There's a lot of TV. A lot of TV.
Yeah. So I always find that in the 80s and in the 90s, everyone who is in these movies appeared in episodes of Murder, She Wrote.
Yeah.
Or Columbo, or, those kind of popular shows at that time. They would come on as, a single episode or what have you. Synopsis for 1982's Halloween 3 season of The Witch, courtesy of our dear friends at IMDb. Kids all over America want silver shamrock masks for Halloween. Dr. Dan Chalice seems to uncover a plot by Silver Shamrock owner Connell Cochran.
That's it?
That's it. Okay.
All right.
Okay. Great. Also, Michael Myers is not in this movie.
Yeah, let's not forget that.
Oh, goodness. This leads us to one of our favorite segments of the show, Kill Count.
Kill Count. The time of the show we count the kills.
Blairski, we got a kill count for this one?
So because the androids in this movie were so human-like, I did include them in the kill count.
Okay, interesting.
So with that, we have a total kill count of 28. This movie is the highest kill count in the entire franchise until 2021's Halloween Kills.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
I also hate that it's the highest kill count.
I know. Again, a lot of those kills are androids, not real humans, but they sure look human to me.
Hey, man, robots need love too.
They do, yeah.
Okay, this leads us to our next segment, likes and dislikes.
Likes, dislikes, likes, dislikes, and everything in between.
The portion of the show where we talk about what we liked, what we didn't like, and everything in between. I think you mentioned it. Androids. Androids in the Halloween franchise. I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, it's obvious there's no Michael Myers in this movie.
The only time you see Michael Myers is in a commercial, which I love. I loved the throwback to Halloween.
I agree.
But it made me just kind of want to jump into that TV and just finish watching that movie.
Great point. Yeah, absolutely. Great point. I mean, I would much rather watch even the first two compared to this one. But I know the original plans for the Halloween franchise were to have stories centered around Halloween or on Halloween night, not necessarily stories focused around Michael Myers. But the problem I had with it, especially after films 1 and 2 were already released, is why continue with the franchise? Why not just make a
something new?
Come up with a different title and just do like a completely different movie. I was personally distracted by it. You know, being Halloween 3. I know Michael Myers wasn't supposed to be in the movie, but it just kind of felt a bit like they were capitalizing on the name.
And it is so weird too that the name would have such an effect like that. Like as you said earlier, going in, I knew Michael Myers wasn't in it.
Yeah.
But the name of this movie is literally Halloween 3. Something psychologically in my head the whole time watching the movie was waiting for Michael Myers.
I don't know why they wouldn't have just called it Season of the Witch.
Yeah.
Or Halloween Season of the Witch.
Yeah.
But if you throw in Halloween 3, you're kind of expecting some kind of continuation.
Yeah. Totally.
That's the way I look at it. And this is going in as somebody who knew Michael Myers was not in it.
Yeah. Yeah. Me
you know,
too.
it just kind of felt like I can only imagine how frustrated moviegoers must have been in 1982.
I said that while watching it to
Myers.
Rachel, we're watching it together. And I said, imagine going to see this in theaters, being a fan of the Halloween franchise already and not knowing, you know, Michael Myers isn't in it. Like, I wonder how many people actually walked out. I don't know.
It's just kind of like a what the hell moment.
Yeah.
Like you kind of feel a little bit. And like that being said, like this story, the movie isn't as bad as I think a lot of people say it is.
No.
I think what's wrong with it, again, is they're comparing it to the other movies in the franchise, whereas this movie, more than any other movie in the franchise, is a standalone movie.
Yeah. It's a total standalone movie. There is nothing at all connecting it to any of the other movies except for that commercial, except for it taking place in the same world.
Right.
Where those movies exist. That's it.
Right. But even like I know that with the last 3 trilogy or the last trilogy that came out, there was a lot of feedback. And like myself, I'm guilty of it as well. But it's like, what did you do to my franchise? The franchise that I love so much, you know? And I imagine that a lot of, you know, the hate that comes towards Halloween 3 is kind of the same thing. Like, what did you do to my franchise?
Yeah, like the same hate that comes to Halloween Ends.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. Absolutely. And we at HorrorCon, we went and saw a panel with David Courtney. I believe
James Courtney or James Jude Courtney. Yeah, James.
Right. Sorry, my mistake. And he had brought up that same kind of comparison. While there was a lot of hate towards Halloween Ends, now the same kind of thing happened with Halloween 3. And now Halloween 3, I mean, you walk around HorrorCon and it's kind of, you know, there's a resurgence of it.
Yeah, yeah. Kind of a cult classic.
Yeah, that being said, I didn't think it was that great of a movie, even as a standalone movie.
No. It does have some cool aspects here. I'm just going to say a couple of the things I did like because I have way more I didn't.
Yeah.
I absolutely love the 80s synth soundtrack.
It's so good. It's just
so
John
good.
Carpenter at its best.
It's John Carpenter. And as we talked about in the watch party, it kind of reminded me of retro video games.
Yeah.
Like Space Invaders, Asteroids, something like that.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that. I did, as we talked about already, I love the throwbacks to the original Halloween.
Yeah.
And I thought the acting was pretty good. The acting was fine in this movie. That is about it I have written down for positives on this movie.
I do want to bring up, just because the Halloween franchise is known for its intros, its title cards.
Mm-hmm.
And we love intros, we love title cards. And this one is pretty unique. I mean, they obviously have the jack-o'-lantern that is synonymous with Halloween. But it's kind of, I mean, it's all done, I don't know if you would call it 8-bit or it's all computerized and it looks really, really cool.
Pixelated.
And you still have the jack-o'-lantern there, which is how I believe all of the Halloween movies start.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, I thought the music was great as well. It's very much of its time.
Yeah. Very
but I mean,
80s.
it's John Carpenter. How can you ever not like a John Carpenter soundtrack?
Very true.
You know?
Very true.
I also didn't mind a lot of the kills in this movie.
I thought they were pretty weak, to be honest with you.
They were maybe a little bit tame, but there was a couple in particular. I'm thinking like the hospital bed death scene right at the beginning.
Okay, yeah.
Was kind of cool. And even it's not a death scene, but the scene in the hotel with the character Marge with the shamrock pin. It involves a laser.
Yeah.
There's bugs everywhere, but the makeup work was really, really cool in that particular scene.
Yeah, I like of her face afterwards, after getting shot with the laser. I thought that was pretty good as well. But the kill, the very first kill with the car crushing, I mean, that was pretty bad.
And it was the first kill we see, and it
Yeah.
happens within the first 2 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, and it was very, very lackluster.
And I mean, I think that's where, you know, Halloween, the franchise, does so well is the kill count is usually a little bit lower. So when they do happen, it's even more shocking.
Yeah.
You know, and this, it was just like, we'll start the movie off with a really ridiculous kill.
Yeah.
It's just like, I don't know. I didn't think it was overly scary.
It wasn't scary.
No.
The story was very lackluster as well.
It was just, I think, confusing more than anything.
Yeah, well, I wish it started on Halloween or maybe
Yeah.
the night before Halloween and not 4 or 5 days beforehand. I don't think it needed all that buildup.
I also have an issue with movies or television shows that have that countdown built in.
Mm-hmm.
I find it to be a distraction because, you know, they have it in there and it's like, okay, there's only this much time left in the movie. So it's like you're distracted by, you know, 3 more days till Halloween, 2 more days till Halloween. It's like, okay, let's just get to Halloween already.
Yeah,
Because I'm not having it, you know.
Yeah, I totally agree.
It just distracts me a bit. But
Yeah.
it felt, and I had mentioned this to you the other night, but it felt a bit like an X-Files episode.
Yeah.
Where it's like no one is really who they seem to be. And there's a lot of stuff that maybe is a little bit confusing if your eyes stray from the TV for a minute. I don't know. The script was just, it was too much, man. I mean, you throw in robots and Stonehenge and lasers that made bugs appear out of people's heads.
I did not
just
get
like,
that. Like,
if you say, oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, how are snakes and bugs just randomly appearing out of these masks? I didn't get that at all. They didn't explain it either.
I just don't get it. And to like tell people, like, if you were supposed to say it has robots and Stonehenge and lasers, people would right away be like, wait, it's a Halloween movie?
Yeah.
Like how? Like, how is this, you know, part of, and again, I think my error was not looking at it as a standalone movie.
Man, I tried to, and I just couldn't. I just couldn't.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't know. And even like we had said, even as a standalone movie, just wasn't great.
The ending was very bad too.
It was just so anticlimactic.
Yeah. And sudden, anticlimactic. Just, yeah, it was a weak ending.
I don't know. Yeah, it just, I don't think it's, I get why people, you know, I can understand why people are all over it. Maybe the nostalgia aspect.
Well, the mask, the actual mask design is so cool. Like, I want to own replicas of all 3 of those masks.
They are really, really cool. But I was expecting them to have like and I guess they do have like a massive part in the movie. But as somebody who had never seen the movie, I was expecting like the kids to like be wreaking havoc on the town, and
that's what I thought.
Did not go in that direction in the slightest.
That's what I thought too. I thought it was going to be kind of start, as I said, closer to Halloween, where these kids put on the mask, and I thought maybe they would get possessed or hypnotized or something,
brainwashed, or and
go on a killing spree. That's what I thought I was going into, and it was not that at all.
I was hoping it would be a little bit Children of the Corn, where these children kind of take control of the town and start wreaking havoc on, you know, the adults. I thought would have been really, really cool, but then it turned into like a doctor / detective movie, and it was just like I did not care.
Like a mad scientist almost.
It was just bizarre. I don't know. Let's move on, shall we?
Yeah, we could bash this movie all day.
Move along to our next segment of the show. Lessons we learned from watching 1982's Halloween 3, Season of the Witch.
Lessons we learned from watching. Insert title of movie here.
The segment of the show where we talk about the valuable life lessons we learned from movie, Blairski.
Yeah, buddy.
Did you learn a single thing from watching Halloween 3?
Man, not really. I learned that drinking and doctor is an excellent combination.
Yeah, drinking and doctoring.
And finally, just don't cheat on your wife and kids.
Yeah.
If your relationship's that bad, just separate, get a divorce or something. Don't cheat.
Yeah,
That's about
absolutely.
it.
I learned if someone needs help, help them.
Yeah.
If a doctor is on duty and walking around with the top 3 buttons of their shirt undone, get them to take a breathalyzer immediately and check their credentials. There's just something not right about that doctor.
Yeah.
Who's he, Dr. Cool? Come on. What's to save? Bit too close to the TV, you might ruin your eyesight, or you might find bugs spewing from your head.
Man, those kids were sitting so close to that TV.
Way too close. Yeah. And then finally, the holiday Halloween was inspired in part by Samhain, a Gaelic harvest festival. I believe a pagan festival. There you go. Okay, this leads us to another one of our favorite segments, Line of the Night.
Line of the night. Line of the night. Line of the night. Line of the night. Line of the night. Line of the night. Line of the night. Line of the night. Line of the night.
The segment of the show where we discuss our favorite lines from the movie. They might give us chills, they might give us the giggles. All we know is that they are our favorite Blairski. What do you got for line of the night?
Once again, man, weak script, weak lines. I got 2. Colonel Cochrane, I do love a good joke, and this is the best ever. A joke on children.
Boo.
Yep.
Boo. That's not a good joke.
Final one's from Dr. Dan. He just says, it's getting late. I could use a drink.
As doctors do.
Yeah.
Goodness. I have one written down here. They're coming. This is from a man at the gas station. We hear one from the TV announcements from the commercials for Silver Shamrock. It says, don't forget to wear your masks.
Mm-hmm.
Something that we should all remember if we are feeling under the weather. And then finally, we hear from Cochrane. He says, happy Halloween. Great.
Yep.
Great. Great lines. How exciting, how riveting. Give us more, please. Oh, goodness. Finally, we have reached what some might call our favorite segment of the show. Blairski, still top 5?
Definitely top 5, almost maybe
Still
even top 4, possibly.
Absolutely. Celebrity lookalike time.
Celebrity lookalike time.
The time of the show where we take a look at the cast and discuss their celebrity doppelgangers. Spoiler alert, it usually comes down to the character's hairstyle. Blairski, what do you got for celebrity lookalike time?
Well, all the guys in suits, the androids, I guess, if you will, they just reminded me of the Men in Black.
Yeah, Galaxy Defenders.
Yeah, big time. And finally, I'm sure you probably agree with me on this. Dr. Dan 100% reminded me of Tom Selleck.
Yeah, absolutely. He looks like any man from the 80s/90s with a mustache.
Yeah.
I have here as my one. Dan shared a striking resemblance to 80s television host Geraldo.
Yeah, Geraldo.
Yeah,
Geraldo works
it was
too.
a man with a mustache.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, goodness. Okay, this leads us to our final rating for 1982's Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. Blairski, out of 5 German robots with pulpy orange juice for blood, what are you giving Halloween 3?
It's exactly what they were. Can't lie, man. Kind of a disappointment. I'm going to be giving Halloween 3 1.5 German robots with pulpy orange juice for blood out of 5.
I'm going to go a little bit higher. I'm going to say 2 German robots with pulpy orange juice for blood out of 5. The reason it scores so high, and 2 is not a high score.
No.
I mean, it's part of a legendary franchise.
It is.
The reason it doesn't score higher is because it's part of a legendary franchise, but it's a stinker of a movie.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is it ever?
Oh, goodness. I'm glad we watched it. It's one that I've been wanting to watch for ages.
Yeah.
Finally got around to it.
Yeah.
We can check it off the list.
It's off the list. We got a couple good ones next, though.
Absolutely. 2 more. It's a short month, but we have 2 more reviews. We got a buttload of haunts to go to, and perhaps Terrifier 3 this week.
I'm hoping so. We'll make it happen. We'll make it happen.
Absolutely. But until then, this has been Review Set Scare with Jess and Blair. I'm Jess.
I'm Blair. Remember to stay scary.
And eat every sandwich. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Thank you for listening to Review Set Scare. Make sure you check out our Linktree at linktree/reviewsetscare. That's linktr.ee/reviewsetscare, which has links to our Instagram, YouTube, Patreon, Twitch, and many other things. If you'd like to email us, you can reach us at reviewsetscare@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and remember to stay scary and eat every sandwich. A proud member of Pod Nation TV.